All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm Heather Martinson, and I'm here today to bring to you session 6 of the Reignite Learning training. And today we're going to be talking about curiosity-driven projects, which is fueling the fire of learning. But first, I'm going to follow up a little bit about our last training from session 5. We talked about going on adventures. So the question is, what adventures did you go on? And were you able to pick up some library books and I go ahead and share your experiences in our community chat, and so we can have a conversation. We can share with one another what learning experiences we're all having. And I really want to know what you've been inspired to do with your kids. So share that out. I appreciate it. So today we're talking about step 3 of the Reignite Learning system. When I want to, let me bring up my slides. Here we are. So, and it's curiosity-driven projects. And this is this third step in the Reignite Learning process. Starting with step 1 was the exciting theme. Step 2 is fascinating discoveries. Those are the adventures that you go on to spark curiosity, right? Step 3 is engaging projects. This is after and during research, and also what you produce from the research, what comes out of all the things that are being learned, and got something to show and something to engage in. So they are meant to fan the flames of learning. So on the little picture on the left, the little girl observing some interesting architectural building, and then she and her friends then go on to creating some architectural structures of their own. So this is a small project that the type of things that we can do with our Reignite Learning, with our projects. So here's an example of something that one of our students did before. This is the water cycle made out of Legos. So you can see the sun up at the top, and you can see the lake or ocean down at the bottom, and it shows the cycle where the white cloud. And so it shows precipitation, and then it shows the water going over to the ocean or lake, and then back up through evaporation to the sun, and condensation back to the cloud. So this is a representation of a short-term project that a child would do. Of course, there needs to be a little bit of understanding of how it all works for them to be able to put it together, but then they enjoy putting it together. And as they do, that information is settling in their brain even more. It has more repetition, more experience and interaction with them. So in order to make that more meaningful, far more powerful than filling out a worksheet explaining the water cycle. Also, it's going to be something that this child is going to want to show people. At each time they show somebody, it's again repeating the process and telling them this science behind what's happening in this Lego model. Another example, these girls learned about India. They studied India, and they did a chalk mandala. They learned about mandalas. And so then the three of them together collaborated and made this mandala of their own. So that was a lot of fun. There's really, these projects can go in any direction. And the great thing is you can touch on all school subjects through the projects. So you can do reading, writing, math, art, history, geography, music, all can be tied into these projects. But even more, project-based learning encourages all of these life skills like critical thinking, collaboration, communication, presentation, time management, adaptability, creativity, autonomy, all of these life skills that you don't get from a worksheet, right? And these are the things that more and more are the qualities that we are valuing from that we need, or your children need, to survive in today's world. And it's not necessarily a bunch of memorizing facts and figures, because that information can be found anywhere, and it's within reach of us. It's in our hands all the time. And we don't need necessarily to memorize everything, but to experience these life skills, and to have that confidence in knowing that you can do these things on your own, and take control of your own learning, is very powerful. And it's going to set your child ahead because they've gained these life skills through these projects. So now how are we going to do it? Well, first of all, I show this picture of all these different sorts of food on a table. And because I like to say it's like offering a smorgasbord. If a child sees an entire table full of food, their eyes light up and they're like, oh, and they want to try. They're like, oh, give me some of that. And I want some of this. And they might just sneak and grab some here and eat whatever. They're going to get excited about all the food and they're going to want to try it. Well, that's kind of what we're doing with these projects, because you're going to give them the opportunity to choose from a number of different projects that they can do, and they're going to have the same experience. They're going to be like, oh, I want to do this. I don't know what kid wouldn't want to do a Lego life cycle, water cycle. So but there's many more projects like that, and you may not think of them yourself, but I have ways of helping you, and I call it fireworks. And these are the ideas that you can find on the website, on the fireworks page, that will be able to help you come up with the great ideas that you need to inspire your kids to want to work on these projects. This little kid here, he did a project. This is a little bit more, not quite a short-term project, but it was where this is actually a fish tank with plants growing on the top of it, these sprouts. And the fish tank would cycle the water from the fish up through the sprouts, bringing with it the poop from the fish, and so that it fertilized the sprouts. And so it was kind of like a tiny little life cycle or biome with the plants and the fish. It was really cute. But anyway, your kids get to choose the fireworks that they do. So they get to choose. So you're going to give the children some options. Choose number 1, number 2, number 3. You're going to look through the fireworks that are available to them, and you're going to let them choose. I recommend you having about 3 for them to choose from. If you give them everything like the smorgasbord, it can be overwhelming and they just shut down and can't do everything all at once. But what I recommend you do is go ahead and choose about three for them to, and say, hey, which one do you want to do? Or which one do you want to do first sometimes? Because if your kid, and with all the lists of fireworks that are available, then you can choose what you think they will enjoy the most. And then it is a matter of which one do you want to do first, right? So then you're going to help them get started by getting all the materials out, even before you make the suggestions, because a lot of times, as soon as you make the suggestions, they're going to want to just start moving on it right away. They're like, yes, I got it. And just sneaking that little thing off the smorgasbord, off the table of food, they're going to be like, I'm on it. And they're like, give me that stuff. And I want to start now. And then the next thing is you just need to get out of the way, because they're going to want to learn. They're going to want to just get started right away. So I want to tell you a story about the reason for this ocean picture here, because one of my kids, I knew that there was a project that he would enjoy doing, and I told him about it, but he just like, man, he just kind of poo-pooed it. He ignored it. So but yet I knew my kid. It was to make a poster. So it's like basically a full-size poster, paint it all blue, and then put a little bit of brown on it to represent the beach. So that we've got the entire ocean and the beach there. Actually, there was some sky at the top. And so I started painting this thing, but as soon as I did, my son was like, wait, let me do that. And so I gave him the paint, and then he finished painting the poster blue with a little bit of brown. Then while he was doing that, I went over to the computer and I started printing out some sea creatures. The object of this activity was to put the sea creatures where they belong in the ocean. If they go at the top near the surface of the ocean, or a mid-range, or maybe they're deep ocean creatures or something that lives over by the shore. And so I started printing off some of these creatures. But of course, he finished painting the poster, and then he came over and he's like, wait, Lo, let me do that. And then he's looking for some weird creatures that he's familiar with and he's excited to put on his poster. And so he totally got into it. He printed out these creatures, he cut them out, and then he glued them onto the poster at all the different places that they belong in. And he loved it so much, he took it to the next time our homeschool group got together, he wanted to show it off. But what's interesting, it wasn't just the one time he showed it off, because the next time and the next time, for a couple of years, not every week, but for a couple of years, he would just like, where's that ocean poster? And he dragged that thing out and he would show it because he was so proud of it. And this was something that he was just like, nah, but I helped him get started And then he's like, okay, he's pushing me out of the way. So that's the thing. To help our children do these projects, and of course, he even had to do a little bit of research too to know exactly where in the ocean he's going to put these animals, and he's going to want to do a good job because he knew that he was going to be showing his friends. So it was just an all-around winner for him and for that learning experience. It seems like there's something else I'm going to say. I can't remember right now. That's okay. I'll move on. So you have the best of all of the things that you're looking for in order to just make sure that your child is completely inspired and engaged and excited about learning all these things. I want to talk about so far these are all relatively short-term projects, but also there's an approach that I learned that I did with my kids growing up where we did 6-week projects. And that was where they would choose a topic that they would work on for an entire 6 weeks and then do a presentation at the end. So it's a longer term, and usually I have them choose a topic that relates to what we're doing in our theme. So in our theme for the year, we have 5 components, each 6 weeks long. And so I'd have my child choose something within that component, something that relates to the component that they would do a project on. And there are 4 elements to the project. The first is research, and that's a big part because they're going to be looking at books, doing some internet research to find interesting information about their topic. And then they're going to start collecting. They're going to collect that information either by copy and paste it into another document, or having you write it down, or them themselves writing it in their journal. However you want to collect the research, there is no wrong way to do it, but just so that you don't forget, the child doesn't forget all the interesting things that they're enjoying learning about the topic that they're researching. The second element is a written report. And this is something that you're probably, for most kids, you're going to help them write. And that's not just when they're little, but as they get older, they have more capacity to be able to write more. And so you're going to want to help them write so that they're stretching. Maybe they're writing, encouraging them to write longer, use the correct paragraph structure, and so forth. When they're little, you can have an entire report that's 3 sentences long, and you might be writing that for them, and that's fine. But it's them telling you what they want in the report. They might say sharks lose their teeth, whatever, and so you're writing that out. The way I would do it oftentimes with my kids, and even we've done this as individuals and also in classes where they're working in groups. So what I would do is usually after doing the research and collecting the information that they want to share in their report, I would help them create a mind map where we put the information, the topic in the middle, and all the different little bits of information that they shared, and connect those with subtopics and so forth. And then from there, from the mind map, we would create an outline. And then from the outline, we would go to writing the full report. And then from the report, we would do the first draft and then as many subsequent drafts as necessary till we have the final draft. Of course, if you're doing that online on a Google Doc or something, that those drafts are lost. The first drafts are not necessarily there still. Anyway, you get the idea. It is all part of the process where you're going back through and, oh, this word isn't spelled correctly. You need a period here. These kinds of things, because they're going to be showing these off and presenting it, right? The third element was all the way back when I said oral report, when I showed the oral report that was out of sequence. Anyway, the third element is the oral report. The children have the opportunity to give an oral report. They can do it right off of reading their written report, or they can do it off of their outline, or they can just plain show the display that they made or something that they built. And because the fourth element is the display. And so throughout the 6 weeks, this one's a simplistic display, but throughout the 6 weeks, they're encouraged to create something that they're going to show when they do their oral report. And when we would do the oral reports, it would go along with our celebrations at the end of each 6 weeks, so that the children have the opportunity to show what they've been learning and to be a great brain about something that they researched and enjoyed and want to share about. So then that's why they want to do a nice job, and you take extra time working on this 6-week project. And then what is the other thing I wanted to share? There was this other thing. Right. So the different projects, it doesn't have to be just a poster. It doesn't have to be just a trifold display folder. It can be blocks like this one is, or Lego builds has been a popular thing for kids to build things to show for their display. Also, but don't limit it. It could be something in Minecraft. I've had a couple different groups where they created things inside Minecraft and then showed that as for their display. And there was one time one of my children studied basketball for the 6-week report, and we went to a basketball court and we learned about how to play basketball, and we played a little family game of basketball, and we shared some Gatorade, and it was just a great time. It was a wonderful, memorable event for all of us to experience that together. So be careful not to limit yourself to what the display looks like, because you'll find that your child might not be inspired by a poster. They might be inspired by Legos. So let them choose the type of display that they want to do. And it's all about having a wonderful experience, learning and experiencing together, right? But my hope is that these children will be so inspired and just love the process so much that they will take off on their own. Because they've had the opportunity to do these projects and they're experienced at doing the research and building things and taking charge of these things, then when it comes time for them to needing more information on their own for their career, for anything, for real life, they will already be very experienced at taking the lead in projects and moving forward with things that when they're not being told do this, then this, then this, and this, right? They know what they can do. And so that is just so exciting. I'm just really excited for you and your kids and the things that you're going to create together, the things that your child is going to say, get out of my way, I'm learning here, and just have a wonderful time together. And so your assignment for this session is, again, having to do with the Alice in Wonderland theme. You can make a butterfly life cycle, because remember, Alice talks with the caterpillar. And in some versions of Alice in Wonderland, that caterpillar in the end turns into a butterfly. And it's just wonderful. So maybe make it some type of display, maybe make it a 3-dimensional, not just drawn. And something you might not think of. A lot of people think about raising butterflies, and that's fine. But you can't do that just any time of the year. It doesn't always work. And then it's really sad when it doesn't work. But anybody can raise mealworms. So you can get mealworms at a local pet store, and you can bring them home, and it's easy to find information on how to raise mealworms. And you can do that just keep it in a garage, or if it's too cold, keep it in a closet. I don't know. You don't have to look at them, but you can have a great time raising these mealworms, and you can raise them from all the way from the worm to the cocoon to the adults, and then see them lay the eggs and start all over again. So you can just have fun with this. Your kids will love it. And by the way, mealworms are edible as well. Some people use them as a food source. That's a whole other thing you may or may not want to explore with your kids. But another idea for you is, because when Alice was talking with the caterpillar, she recited poetry. So you might want to do some poetry and maybe help your child write some poetry about a caterpillar growing into a butterfly. I think that'd be an adorable little poem. Another thing too is the caterpillar was smoking a hookah, and that opens up an opportunity for you to discuss with your child about drug use. So there's a lot of different directions you can go just with that one little scene of Alice and the caterpillar. So that is your assignment. Let us know in the community. Go ahead and put your comments and share what you guys end up doing, so we can all see what you're up to. And our next training is session 7. It is on, let's see. Oh yes, it's on reading. We're going to start talking about the reading, writing, and math, our next 3 sessions. So this very next one is on reading. And so we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how to learn reading through authentic means without the textbooks and worksheets. And because you guys can do this, your kids can do this. My kids did do it, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful process, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. So I'll see you next time. Have a great time and have fun.